Three names, three short prices, and three moments that stopped a lot of betting slips from ever being cashed. Final Demand, Marine Nationale, Lossiemouth. Coming into the Dublin Racing Festival, these weren't just favourites, they were certainties. The kind of horses people built entire days around, the kind you didn't even really think about losing. And then, all three did. Not in 3 different weeks, not spread across a season, but in the space of one meeting, on one extraordinary day that quietly rewrote the pecking order. This is the story of how the favourites fluffed their lines. Leopardstown was supposed to be a coronation. The Dublin Racing Festival always is. It's where reputations get confirmed, where Cheltenham markets get shaped, where the season's biggest questions start to get answered. The previews all sounded the same. Solid favourites, strong confidence, plenty of bankers. Final Demand was meant to dominate. Marine Nationale was meant to jump them into submission. Lossiemouth was meant to confirm her superiority. Different races, different stories, same assumption. They'd win. But racing has a habit of punishing certainty. And by the end of the day, 3 of the strongest narratives in the sport were lying in pieces on the Leopardstown turf. Let's start with Final Demand, because this was the first moment the room went quiet. All week, the talk had been about how straightforward this was supposed to be. Strong profile, right race, right conditions. The kind of favourite people call a good thing without even realising how dangerous that phrase is in this sport. On paper, it made sense. The opposition looked manageable. The market said he was clear. The expectation wasn't just to win, it was to impress. But from early on, something didn't quite look right. He never really warmed to his jumping the way you'd expect. The rhythm wasn't there, the fluency wasn't there, and in a race where everything is about being in the right place at the right time, Final Demand just kept finding himself half a step out of sync. By the time the race began to really happen, he was already under pressure. Not the dramatic, headline-grabbing kind. Just the quiet, uncomfortable pressure of a horse not quite travelling the way he should. And when the moment came, when favourites usually pick up and assert, Final Demand didn't. He was beaten, properly beaten, and suddenly the first certainty of the day was gone. It didn't look like a collapse. It didn't look like a fluke. It just looked like a reminder. Even the strongest favourites still have to get the job done. And this time, he didn't. If Final Demand's defeat was uncomfortable, Marine Nationale's was something else entirely. Because this one wasn't about hype. This was about class. About a horse with a reputation for doing things the right way. A horse people trusted, not just fancied. But races aren't run on reputation. They're run on pace, position, and timing. And this race never unfolded the way Marine Nationale needed it to. From early on, the shape of the race was wrong. The tempo didn't suit. The positions didn't fall kindly. And instead of being delivered into the race at the perfect moment, Marine Nationale was forced into decisions earlier than you'd want. You could see it happening in real time. Not a disaster, not a mistake, just a slow drift away from the perfect scenario. And at this level, almost right is the same as wrong. When the decisive moves came, others were better placed. Sharper, better suited to how the race had developed. Marine Nationale was battered by Majborough, well beaten, and sometimes that's the hardest kind of defeat to explain. Not because the horse ran badly, but because the race simply refused to bend to him. The question this now poses is what beat Marine Nationale? Was it tactics? Was it pace, ground? Or maybe he was just beaten fair and square by a better animal. Then came the one that really made people stop and stare. Lossiemouth. The name alone carried weight. This wasn't just a favourite, this was a statement horse. The kind you expect to turn up, do her job, and leave with even more questions answered than when she arrived. The market said confidence. The build-up said confidence. The expectation said confidence. But from a long way out, something felt off. She didn't travel with her usual ease. She didn't move through the race like a horse about to take control. And as the pressure began to build, there was no familiar surge. No moment where everything clicked into place. Instead, there was just the slow, uncomfortable realization that today wasn't her day. Was it fitness? Was it tactics? Was it the conditions? Or was it simply one of those days that even the very best horses have? Whatever the answer, the result was the same. Lossiemouth was beaten, And this one didn't just change a result, it changed a narrative. Because when horses like this lose, people don't just ask how, they ask what it means. 3 races, 3 favourites, 3 defeats. And suddenly, it didn't feel like coincidence anymore. Different reasons, different stories, but the same outcome, expectations meeting reality. And reality, as it so often does in racing, refusing to care. This is the part of the sport nobody likes to admit. There are no certainties. No matter how strong the profile, no matter how short the price, no matter how confident the previews sound, racing doesn't reward reputation. It rewards what happens in those few minutes on the track. And on this day, for 3 of the most trusted horses in training, it just didn't happen. So what does this change? For Final Demand, questions about ceiling and heart. For Marine Nationale, questions about race setups and ideal conditions. For Lossiemouth, questions that leave her future plans unclear. Markets will move, opinions will shift. And Cheltenham suddenly looks a lot less settled than it did a week ago. Maybe all 3 bounce back next time. Maybe one of these runs turns out to be a warning we should have listened to. That's the thing about days like this. You only realize how important they were after the season finishes. So was this just 3 unlucky runs? Or was this the day the season quietly changed direction? And more importantly, which of these 3 would you still trust next time? And which one would you never look at the same way again?